As the bard famously wrote, enjoy the games of June. I don't think he said games exactly, he said Ides. Also the month might have been earlier in the year and the whole sentiment might have been a little bit more foreboding than I remember. Anyway, the details don't matter. What's important is that William Shakespeare wanted you, that's right, you, to have a really good time playing video games this coming month. And so in his honour, join us as we run down the most promising PC games coming out this June.
They say millennials are the career-swapping generation, but it's been going on way longer than that. Just look at the Vampyr protagonist Jonathan Reed. The First World War ends, so he switches from soldier to doctor, but then after that he retrains as a blood-sucking creature of darkness. If you want your CV to look like an absolute mess, John, you're going the right way about it. We have our reservations about Vampyr. We've played a couple of hours and they weren't everything you'd expect from the developer of Life is Strange. The streets of post-war London are surprisingly empty, even for a city decimated by Spanish flu. The combat struggles to hold a candle to the likes of Arkham, at least in the early part of the game, and we didn't get to taste a drop of the choice and consequence Don't Nod have promised so far. But despite all that, we're still thirsty for the next game from a studio responsible for some of the PC's best storytelling in recent years. Oh, hang on, I meant like thirsty for blood? It was a vampire metaphor, not a sex thing. Oh, who am I kidding? Vampires are basically sex on legs.
Anyone who's ever scrubbed a bathroom knows the satisfaction of purging the unclean. That's what Warhammer Inquisitor is all about. You've been sent to the Caligari sector to apply the 41st millennium equivalent of toilet duck to the forces of chaos. It's a bit tricky to keep track of which Warhammer game does what on Steam at this point, so I'll make it clear. Inquisitor is the action RPG from the creators of the Van Helsing series, so it offers hacking and slashing. If you've ever so much as brushed against a copy of Diablo, you'll understand exactly how this one plays. The draw, of course, is the setting. You're not just a bloke with a sword, you're a death cult assassin, or you're a Primaris psyker meddling with the powers of the warp. And the corridors you fight in aren't just dungeons, they're infested void stations and abandoned star forts. Inquisitor Martyr has been in early access for the better part of a year, but after a short delay it's finally ready to emerge from its drop pod and wage eternal war. Or war for as long as you feel like it. Eternity's a big commitment after all, even for a decent action RPG.
Business simulation genre has a reputation for being a bit dry, but Jurassic World Evolution, that's a slightly different prospect. Not least because, if you get it wrong, you don't just have the quarterly results to worry about. We're talking power failures, unpredictable weather, and of course dinosaur breakouts. It's your job to preempt those problems, building storm warning centres and power network redundancies. But you'd better pop in a couple of emergency guest shelters just in case. After all, life, finds a way. Planet Coaster devs Frontier are old hands at this. They know, for instance, that advisors are the best bit of any management game. Throughout Evolution, you're going to have 3 figures pushing their agendas on you, each fighting for science, security, or entertainment. The thing is, one of those advisors is going to be Dr. Ian Malcolm. You try saying no to advice murmured in your ear by Jeff Goldblum. Your goal is to develop 5-star parks across several islands, eventually housing 40 different dinosaur species. Although, I'd be wary of the Indominus Rex. I mean, it's literally named for the fact it can't be dominated. If you're sticking that lad in a pen, you're asking for trouble.
Everyone thinks they want to hire a car and drive across the United States. But have you seen the United States? There's like loads of them, and some of them are really big and wide. Far better to whiz through a scaled down version like the one in the Cruise series. Ivory Tower's skill is to tastefully blend together the best roads in the country, boiling the US down to its most famous drives and landmarks. The collisions were rubbish, and the story was all about dangerous gangs who settled all their differences through fair and well-organised races. A better world than the one we live in, maybe, but not a very convincing one. For The Crew 2, the devs have given up on being Scorsese and divided the world into hubs. The idea is that each hub will emphasise a different style of play, and they really are different this time. Some of these cars have wings for one, while others don't have wheels and will drift along on the water. Fantastical, I know, but isn't that why we play video games? To escape into the realm of the impossible, where big daddies roam and drivers race in so-called boats.
Gaming hasn't been kind to old-fashioned arena shooters lately. Lawbreakers bombed and its studio made radical heights shortly before closing down. Whatever way you look at it, a last-ditch bid for the Battle Royale crowd doesn't exactly scream healthy retro scene. Hopefully JackHammer can be the game that breaks that downward trend. Like the best first-person shooters of the 90s, it's all about reactions, reflexes and robots. In the near future, military tech corps have begun pitting their creations against each other in stadiums. The robots, or should I say you, launch murder balls at your opponents as fans roar in appreciation. That's not just me, they really are called murder balls. I guess the military-industrial complex has a unique approach to branding. The nice thing about being a robot is that you're not bound to even a shooter's impression of reality. You've got superhuman agility at the end of your WASD keys, customizable armor, and a pumping electronic soundtrack. Mastery in JackHammer is about pulling off trick shots and rebounds in arenas reminiscent of Robot Wars. Or, if you're outside the UK, BattleBots. Never let it be said that we don't localize our content.
Even if you're not into motocross in the real world, you'll find plenty of crossover with your other PC gaming interests in MXGP Pro. If you've ever made your way over rugged terrain in an RPG or fought for control of a vehicle in an open world game, then you'll recognise the appeal of Milestone's latest bike simulator. Of course, getting around a dirt track might sound simple to the point of banality, but you'll soon start to enjoy getting bogged down in the details. MXGP is about covering yourself in the mud like a reveller at Glastonbury. The challenge is found in the moment-to-moment adjustments. Tipping your bike in mid-air to pull off the perfect scrub can shave crucial seconds, or one tweak of your direction can save you from barreling into a tree, while landing a jump at the wrong angle can send you rolling into the dirt, which is especially undesirable given that Milestone have put so much work into the bad weather, turning those corners into a sodden, slippery mess. In rainy conditions, the tracks take on the look of that enormous chocolate cake from Matilda. Now, eat it. I don't want any, thank you. Eat it!
The glory days of Kickstarter are already gone. To make it these days, you need stark, realistic goals and a rock-solid pitch. That's exactly what Deiland's developer managed, tripling its $10,000 goal in the course of the campaign. Now they're delivering the game exactly when they said they would, and the premise appeals just as much now as it did then. The idea was to pull together the best of Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon and Final Fantasy. Deiland mixes up farming, crafting, building and combat, and then serves you it on a cute spherical sandbox. This is an entire planet you can make your own. It's a tiny planet, granted, but what were you going to do with a massive one? You don't know the first thing about terraforming. Far better to make a nice wooden hut and plant some crops. Unlike every other game in this list, Deiland is designed to be calming. A break from the world and from the other games we think of as breaks but are actually pretty stressful.
That's it. As Will Shakespeare once wrote, all that lives must die. And no, I don't think that's a melodramatic way to conclude a list about PC games. If you've got any better opinions for games to look forward to in June, by all means stick them in the comments. Then make sure you give us a like and subscribe to PCGamesN for more videos. Ciao!